design services during the construction of the aquatic centre.
So this is seeking to engage formerly Cardno, now Stantec, who have undertaken a detailed design of the aquatic centre to continue design services throughout the construction. Their original engagement, back when we started the aquatic centre, we hadn't committed to when the delivery would occur, so we weren't able. So they were only engaged to go up to detailed design, which is for construction drawings, not for continuing their services during the actual construction period. The services that they'll be undertaking during that construction period will be answering requests for information and clarifications on the construction by the construction contractor, reviewing shop drawings from fabricators, conducting specialised inspections and certification of the construction, and then also assistance with the commissioning of the pool plant and equipment, which is a fairly specialised equipment. All of this engagement is expected to be via scheduler rates, and all of these estimates and their engagement and their services during the construction have been included in the previous cost estimates for the delivery of the aquatic centre. The procurement is considered to be specialised because of the knowledge the design consultant has acquired through the development of the designs, which is unique to actually going through the experience. So Stantec or Cardno have acquired the unique knowledge of the aquatic centre through undertaking a detailed design to a full construction standard. Attempting to engage another consultant to deliver the services will incur additional costs, take additional time, and is unlikely to result in the service of the same quality. So the recommendation is that Council enter into an arrangement with Stantec Australia Proprietary Limited for the provision of design services during construction of the aquatic centre without first inviting written quotes pursuant to section 235B of the Local Government Regulations 2012.
Thanks, Chris. Comments or questions? Councillor Barnes.
Yeah, have we built in any contingencies at all in here?
Definitely. We're still considering, the cost estimates are considering sitting at about 10% contingencies. That's applied to the overall project, not specifically to this engagement. So that'll be how we manage that. Whether it's the contingencies are put towards the design services element, or the construction will be part of the project management of the project.
Thanks, Chris. Any other comments or questions? No, that's it. Thank you, Chris. STEM, are you doing that, Ben?
This item here, item E2, relates to Eat, Breathe, Live, the STEM-based health literacy program. Councillors will recall that recently we had a presentation by Ruben Meerman, who talked about the program and what it entails in terms of being an education program that will be embedded in schools for students and for teachers to improve health literacy around the causes of and the prevention of obesity in our community over time. Councillors will also recall that Council's been working with the Building a Healthy Bundaberg Alliance that we established in 2020 and working with Health and Wellbeing Queensland and the Department of Sport and Rec on developing and funding programs and initiatives to address the region's overall obesity rate. It's also one of Council's advocacy priorities that fits into our human capital area along with the jobs commitment and the resilience program. This program is about making sure that we have people in our communities, young people that are engaged, healthy and have health literacy in that area. This project, I guess, is an innovative one in that it'll be working with schools specifically through the Ruben Meerman's approach that the councillors saw, and it'll be building on a whole range of other investments that the state government's put into this initiative over the last couple of years. There's been over $800,000 of funding that's been put into initiatives to work on reducing overall obesity, and when some of those initial initiatives sort of end and we build momentum around addressing this challenge, the Eat, Breathe, Live program will be the next initiative that will actually go that next step to make sure that we're working towards addressing this overall obesity rate. The funding that Council is considering putting forward is provisional, and it's contingent upon significant other funding being sourced and found from other levels of government, but also from the private sector. So you might know Ruben's got a bit of a profile out there. He can get support for these programs, but Council's, I guess, initial and provisional funding that we'd be putting on the table would now allow the building a healthy Bundaberg alliance with Reuben to secure other funding over the next couple of years to deliver the initiative comprehensively across our region through schools and for young people. So the recommendation is that Council supports this project by putting a provisional budget behind it over the next 2 years.
Thanks, Jim. Comments or questions? Councillor McPhee.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Where it says the state will contribute $134,600 towards the Council's active and healthy Bundaberg program, it says it's set to conclude next month.
Oh, sorry, Councillor McPhee, mic up.
My apologies. So where it says the state will contribute up to $134,600 towards Council's active and healthy Bundaberg program, it says that that program is set to conclude next month. So are we getting more funding from the state for the overall program?
It should read did contribute $134,000, so that we had received that funding some time ago. There's been 2 cohorts of people who've been through that, and the second cohort ends at the end of June this year.
Oh, yeah. And will we be reapplying for, are we eligible to reapply for funding to, because isn't that running the overall program, the Active and Healthy Bundaberg program?
We understand that funding program either has or is about to be re-announced, so you can go for another grant, so that might be another funding opportunity we look for this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All good, thank you. Next we move on to finance.
Okay, I'm in that 29%.
Simon, welcome.
That healthy.
Good morning, councillors. First report is the interim manager report for the 2022 financial audit. Under section 213 of local government regulation, this report must be presented once issued to the next ordinary meeting of council. This report was put through the recent audit risk committee. It's worth noting that the report does not highlight any internal control or financial issues at this stage. The QA will be back on site in September to complete the remainder of the audit process for this year. The recommendation was that the report be noted.
Thanks, Simon. Councillor Trevor.
Mr CEO, I'd just like to congratulate Simon and the finance team on the audit report we received from the state that was presented to Queensland Parliament. I think it's probably one of the best reports I've seen, and we're right up there. I think there's only 1 or 2 councils got a report equal to us, and there's a lot of hard work gone on behind the scenes. So Simon, to you and
Councillor Trevor, mic.
I've got it on. Yeah. I'll put my normal voice on. So Simon, to you and the finance team, I'd like to say congratulations. I know there's a lot of hard work gone on behind the scenes, not only in getting the audit report we got, but also putting together this year's budget, which has been trying at times. So congratulations on the effort.
I'd like to second Councillor Trevor's words. Having worked with the team, I felt really confident that we were going to get a good result as we went through. The work they have put in has been outstanding, and it's a real credit to them and the efforts that they put in across the board. And as Councillor Trevor and I sat at the Audit and Risk Committee the other day, the compliments were flowing there as well. Thank you, councillors. Any other questions for Simon? No? All good?
The second report is the usual financial summary. Not a lot of change in terms of previous reports. Probably worth highlighting that given the current economic climate, I suppose the earnings we can currently achieve on our investments has increased significantly based on what was historically low rates. So accordingly, we're starting to diversify those investments in accordance with our policy, and that should see some greater returns come to council on our cash and investments. In terms of expenditure, both the recurrent and capital expenditure are tracking below budget. We do expect a level of carryovers into next financial year. we'll consider the capital carryovers formally with council early in the financial year. Probably worth highlighting in terms of rate status, I've said this previously, rates outstanding at the end of the reporting date were 2.7%. Looking at what that was at 30th of June last year, which was a historic low for council, was 2.4%. So we're well on our way to improving our debt collection yet again this financial year. And just worth also highlighting that our loan application for this year has been approved, and we've subsequently drawn that down.
Thanks, Simon. Any questions on the finance report? No? All good? Oh, Councillor Cooper. Yeah, I was just going to make mention of the capital carryover and the fact that would that be substantially delayed by the weather conditions we've been through? Would there be quite a few items delayed in that? Maybe you or Stuart may be able to answer that aspect of it.
Probably a variety of reasons, but might let Stuart have a crack at that one.
Ongoing weather hasn't helped with delivery of a capital program, but I'm reasonably comfortable that the largest program, the roads program in our capital area will be, won't be 100%, but there's some significant expenditure that's going to be rolled out in the next month, and since the time that these figures were compiled, there's been some significant expenditure as well. So even though the weather has been very unhelpful for this probably the last 6 months, we're still on track for a reasonable end to the year.
Thank you, that's what I wanted.
Thanks, Stuart. Any other questions on that? No?
We've
All
had a
good?
few
Thank you,
COVID
Simon.
issues as well.
Move on to governance. Christine? No, Anthony.
Morning.
Yes. So we report G1, a specialised supplier arrangement with Esri Australia. Esri provide our ARC GIS software. You may know it with one of the softwares as GTX. It's also used for our public facing of interaction with mapping. The system is identified as a corporate system, and it's recognised as one of our corporate record management systems by the steering committee, the IS steering committee and council. To change from this system would take significant planning and a lot of resources to migrate to a different system. So the recommendation there is that we don't go out for tender for the software, and we have recognise it as a specialised supplier. Just on the recommendation there, I would suggest on reading it that we actually remove point 2, which is that it's only for a period of 3 years. The reason behind this is previously council has always just brought these back to council after every 3 years, but given this system's been in place for about 15 years now, it's just taking up resources to report back to council. We're also implementing a contract management system where the contract manager is required to report back to the procurement board every 3 years. So we've got additional controls in place now. And given that it is a core piece of software, I'm suggesting that we don't put an end date onto this specialised agreement. So what will happen is, at the end, every 3 months, the contract manager must come back to the procurement board to identify or justify that this is still core system and still the specialised supply continues. And if not, then we would still go out to tender for new software if that was the case.
Thanks, Anthony. Comments or questions? Councillor Barnes.
Regularly update their information, their software, as technology evolves?
So we do major upgrades, always upgrading. The photography is also upgraded regularly as well, so it's continue up to date, yes.
Thanks, Anthony. Any other comments or questions? No? All good? Thank you.
Okay, moving on to G2, another specialised supply agreement. This is for our Civica authority, which is we've just upgraded to Altitude. Council has been using this system since 2005, back under Bundaberg city days and Burnett Shire Council days. We've recently just upgraded to Altitude, as I mentioned, and this system has significant integrations across other softwares across council, including our records management system, also SenseSolve and Formbird. So once again, to move away from this system would be a significant exercise. We did look at it going back a number of years ago, and it is in millions, if not tens of millions of dollars for council to migrate to a different system. Given the effort that we've put in recently to become a beta site for authority, and which in all accounts is actually going quite well, and their support to council has been a huge improvement. We would like to once again extend this as a specialised supplier. Also on this one you'll notice that we do not have, or not proposing to have an end date for the same reasons as I explained with Esri.
Thanks, Anthony. I might just reiterate what I said at the Audit and Risk Committee, that the relationship we have with Civica has improved markedly, particularly in the last 2 years, in terms of response times, in terms of now being at the cutting edge. Whereas I think when I came here 5 years ago, we were about 2 years behind in terms of upgrades. We're now one of the councils at the cutting edge in terms of implementing new software as and when it becomes available. And certainly there'd be nothing in the short to medium term to indicate that we'd be looking at any other type of system for council other than continuing with Civica. Questions or comments? Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, I'd just like to add what you've just mentioned, Mr CEO, relating to being at the forefront. That was a decision made by you and the team, and I was very keen to see that happen at the time, and it certainly made a big difference to what service we do get from their supply side, and we now are asked to be part of the improvement aspect of it, and in doing that we can actually get written into the system some of the things that we want in preference to having to live with what other people want. So congratulations to everyone for making that happen and improving where we sat. We were certainly lagging prior to that.
Thanks, Councillor Cooper. Any other questions or comments? No? All good? Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, moving on to G3, another specialised supplier arrangement. This one's for Objective, which is our EDMS system. This is another core system that has been identified by our IS steering committee. We've had this system since 2005, and it once again is heavily integrated into our other systems. So to move away from this system would take significant planning and resources once again. So the resolution there does not have an end date, once again for the same reasons as I mentioned before. It's not a system that we would be moving away from within 12 months. It'd be a 2 to 3 year planning process to move to a new system.
Thanks, Anthony. Comments or questions? Councillor Barnes.
Yeah, when I hear that it's going to cost a lot of money to move away from a system, it still worries me a little bit, because we sort of feel like we're actually being held in place. But I mean, with these three items, Anthony, the staff are happy with the performance they get in and the updates they get in, the back of house.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so the main cost to moving to a new system is the planning and the staff time to bring a new system in, staff training. Then you've got to build into all the integrations to other systems. So that's probably where the majority of the expense comes in. There are other systems that are capable of doing it, and I suppose they all have their pluses and minuses with those systems. But with the changes to Altitude just recently, I can say that most staff are happy with these systems to maintain and keep going forward, yes.
We liaise with other like councils.
Yeah, so obviously, in our different groups, we talk to other councils and see what systems they have and what they use, and we also, compare notes, I suppose, of how these systems operate. I'm not as I said, there's a number of other systems out there, and from the other councils, they also have their good points and their bad points. So If we're happy, if we weren't happy, then we'd be reporting back to the procurement board to make a recommendation to move to other software or systems.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Any other questions? No? All good? Thank you. Move on to the policy review. Christine, now it's your turn.
Good morning, councillors. Item G4 is the council policy review. So as councillors are aware, we've been workshopping with councillors for our biannual policy review. We have 3 policies for council's adoption. They are the buy local policy, which amendments have been made and workshopped with council. The 30% commitment to the local content has remained, but it's been suggested that that 30% be broken up into different parts, 10% being regionally located, headquartered, 10% regionally employed people, hired local plant, and 10% regionally made, built, assembled or grown items. We've also suggested amendments to the media relations policy in clause 6, which was workshopped with councillors, and the planning protocols policy, which was in regard to planning stage number 9 in bullet point 2. The recommendation is that those 3 policies be rescinded and replaced with the new versions of those policies.
Thanks, Chris. Comments or questions? Councillor Barnes.
Sorry to dominate. In relation to the buy local, I think that's an outstanding result because it really brings it back to being locally focused and not argy-bargy and whatever else. So congratulations. I think that's a great initiative.
Thank you.
Yeah, just by way of comment there, just to support Councillor Barnes, this percentage rating is one of the highest in the state by far, and a lot of work has gone in and a lot of feedback from the community and responding to that over particularly the last 3.5 years. So I just want to compliment. I know it's difficult and certainly we want to make sure, but I think we have to keep looking at that and constantly reviewing that as far as how our local businesses are responding and ensure that the ratepayers are getting the best bang for buck as well.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments or questions on the policies? No?
The next item, councillors, is G5, which is in regard to delegations register review. So in accordance with section 257 of the Local Government Act, council may, by resolution, delegate a power under the Act or another Act to the Mayor or Chief Executive Officer. In accordance with subsection 5, the council is required to review all delegations to the Chief Executive Officer at least annually. The Local Government Association of Queensland provided delegations register service, which is updated by King and Company solicitors during the 2 major parliamentary recesses of summer and winter, when they can be confident that there's been no changes. The council officers have been through the suggestions provided from King and Company solicitors, and new registers are proposed to be added, which is the Building Regulation 2021, Medicines and Poisons Pest Management Activities Regulation 2021, Medicines and Poisons and Prohibited Substance Regulation 2021, the Retail Shop Leases Act 1994, Transport Operations, Road Use Management Vehicle Standards and Safety Regulation 2021. There have been some changes made to existing registers, which is the Acquisition of Lands Act, Animal Management Cats and Dogs Act, Public Health Act, and the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Act. And some legislation has been repealed, and those registers are suggested to be removed, which is the Building Regulation 2006 and the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Act regulation from 2019. The recommendation to council is that, pursuant to section 2571B of the Local Government Local Government Act, the Register of Delegations council to the CEO be varied to reflect 1, the new and changed powers as outlined in the report and table amended to the report, and 2, the repealed legislation outlined in the report is removed.
Thanks, Christine. Comments or questions? Councillor McPhee.
When King and Co do these recommendations, are they basing them on changes that have happened to the Act or something?
Yes, that's right, and that's why they do them in those 2 parliamentary recesses, but when Parliament's not amending any other legislation.
Mr Mayor?
Yeah, just for clarification and for those in the room and to make that greater understanding for councillors and members of the community, because this issue keeps raising, I just ask everybody to do the research in relation to this. The state government obviously passes by way of acts. Those acts are then set and implemented by the Governing Council. The Governing Council then go out to Queensland, and then obviously there is a vetting process of the LGAQ in relation to all councils, 77 councils across Queensland, and how they impact. Prior to that, there was also consultation with the state government and the ministers in the day to make sure that how they affect local governments. Then from there, that process is then brought obviously to the likes of King & Co to see how they impact us as a council and a community at Bundaberg Regional Council. Those then pieces of changes then come before the council. And then there's a recommendation here. So there is a lengthy process that has been explained at length time and time again to councils over many years, and every year the process, and it means that Bundaberg Regional Council is kept up to date. Because at the end of the day, the legislations that go through the state government and then go through the filters of the LGAQ and then go to King & Co, many of those pieces of legislation are not relevant or reflective of the needs of the Bundaberg community. And certainly not just for the benefit of the community, but simply do not reflect what is needed in the Bundaberg regional community or affecting the ratepayers as such. So I just want to compliment the staff who continues to bring this up year after year and explain to councils and to the community, and to be able to say that the work that is put in behind this is immense. And obviously the legal team here at council as well, with their extra vetting to ensure, and there'll always be opportunities to amend or look or bring back and see how they're effective. So just because at the end of the day recommendations are meant, there is always other opportunities to be able to come back and look at other options going forward. Just by way of comment, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I presumed it wasn't a question.
No.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Audit and Risk Management Committee
Thanks,
minutes.
Chris.
Thank you. Anthony.
Yes, so moving on to G6, the Audit and Risk Committee met on the 20th of January 2022. The minutes are attached to council's information to be received and noted.
Thanks, Anthony. Comments or questions on the minutes? No? All good? Thank you.
Just on plea.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, this is the committee minute before. Yeah, there's been a meeting since, but they haven't been ratified yet. Yeah.
I'm just pleased the Mayor's back to take his place on that committee.
So, sorry, Councillor Haverman, did you have a question?
I was aware they met last week. I was surprised we were just, receiving and noting minutes from back in January.
What happens is the committee's got to ratify the minutes of its previous meeting, and because it only meets 3 times a year, 4 times, there's a gap in terms of when it comes to the council because of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, moving on to G7, another specialised supply arrangement. This one's with CEDIC, and we're at this stage only looking to extend this for a 12-month period. I suppose in relation to Councillor Barnes' question before, this is we're currently making some changes in other systems, and we want to see what's our best, I suppose, action on system going forward, or what our requirements are going forward. So that's why we're looking for a 12-month extension at this stage, and then Formbird, which is the sort of works management system, which is going to be used by water and fleet. We just want to see, what our requirements are going forward. So just a specialised agreement. Once again, we've been using acetic from at least amalgamation. The system has performed well up until now, but as I said, there may be some additional functionality, and we might be looking for it going forward in the next 12 months.
Thanks, Anthony. Comments or questions? No? All good? Stuart?
Councillors, this first item that I've got today is very similar to the item that Anthony has just presented, again seeking Council's exception under Section 235B of the Local Government Regulations to enter into an arrangement with Civica for the supply of Reflex software. Now, Reflex software is the works management system that we use in our roadworks operations. It was originally implemented for us to undertake the road maintenance performance contracts for TMR. We've used it now for quite a number of years, and it's become embedded into our processes. It is likely that we will be looking to use a different system in maybe 1, 2 or 3 years' time. So what we're asking for is for this arrangement to be in place for 3 years, but we'll be reviewing it annually, so it doesn't necessarily lock us in for 3 years. We would be looking to lock in for 1+1+1 arrangement to enable us to get out of it in time if we decide to go to a different system. But at this stage, looking to continue with Reflect because it's a system that TMR favours and is in place for, as far as we're aware, all or nearly all of the other local governments in Queensland who do TMR contract work.
Thanks, Stuart. Comments or questions? Councillor Honour.
Yes, Mr Chairman, just a question in regard to the operational works of council. Does this include the incremental advancement in projects, like and take into account our weather hold-ups and bring you weekly information? Or?
No, so this software is really about the day-to-day works management. So it records the work that we do on our jobs. It's not about planning for the future. It's simply enables us to record where and when we've done work.
And is that updated daily or weekly or?
Yeah, so it's a live system. As the guys are doing work, it's recorded into Reflect, and then integrates with our costing system.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Mr Mayor?
Yeah, just Stuart, can you just allude to the councillors as they obviously know that Civica is an important tool in liaising with other levels of government, providing information, providing not just the TMR but also times of disaster as well, to be able to collate information and provide update information as well as reliable information from a reputable source.
So Reflect is it's effectively the works management system of choice for TMR, and all of the local governments in Queensland that we're aware of currently use Reflect. And so what it does is it records where the work is done, what resources we've used, which enables us to calculate the cost of each piece of work. It then enables us to collate our claims to TMR on a monthly basis so that we get reimbursed for the work that we do. So it is a critical piece of software for us. Without this piece of software or something like it, we wouldn't be able to manage our claims for remuneration with TMR. It also potentially helps in collating defences against litigation. Because it enables us to identify where and when we did work. So which piece of road, what asset we worked on, when we did the work, and what the nature of the work was. So it really is, it's critical information. It's not the only piece of software that can do the work, but at the moment it's the most appropriate one for us to be using.
Thanks, Stuart. Any other questions or comments on Reflex? No? All good?
So the second report that I've got today is also a specialised supplier recommendation, something that I haven't dealt with before, is a recommendation for sale of large-scale generation certificates. I know a couple of weeks ago I didn't even know what large-scale generation certificates were, but it's with our large solar power generation sites that are located at 2 of our treatment plants. We generate a significant amount of solar power, which we can then sell the LGCs for and recoup some revenue. We have been using a company called Green Energy Trading, and we're seeking to continue with green energy trading. There are a very small number of companies in the market that can do the service for us. And this is the only one that we've been able to find that is a one-stop shop for sale of these certificates, and we believe that they offer the best value for money. So the recommendation to Council is that we enter into an arrangement with Green Energy Trading under the exception under Section 235B of the Local Government Regulation, and that we enter into that arrangement for 5 years until the end of 2027.
Thanks, Stuart. Comments or questions? Councillor McPhee?
So there's a small commission. There's a set fee, an annual fee, and then a commission. And that's one of the reasons that we like to deal with this company as opposed to others, is that there's greater certainty over what they actually charge us. We can enter into an arrangement with them for 12 months on a set fee, rather than others where they're only for a 3 month at a time. So it's an administratively more efficient process as well.
I just realised I was on mute again. Are you aware of what the net, like after the costs are to council? Because it says in the report the revenue is 23,000.
I don't know the precise figure. I think we're, I don't know if anyone else can help. I think Simon can help me with that. It's a couple of thousand, $3,000.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks, Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart. No other comments or questions? Nope. Okay. Oh, Gav, it's your time in the sun.
Morning.
Gav?
I've just got 3 reports to present this morning. They're all to do with procurement of specialised supplier arrangements or sole supplier arrangements. The first one is looking at specialised supplier arrangement Database Consultants Australia, which is Pinforce. Pinforce is specialised software designed to manage specialised tasks for issuing penalty infringement notices for regulated parking and other local law offences. Software was purchased back in Bundaberg City in February 2008, and then Bundaberg Regional Council has used the software since amalgamation. In 2018, Council upgraded to the latest version of this software and also purchased new devices for the parking officers. The proposal is to renew the arrangement with SARB Management Group Proprietary Limited to use Pinforce without going to tender or quote, given that the councils are trained in the use of Pinforce and its use with minimal issues. Pinforce is also integrated into Council Civica system infringements module, and it would be disadvantageous to change the software product at this time. Under Section 235B of the Local Government Act allows local governments to resolve if satisfied as impractical or disadvantageous for council to invite quotes or tenders, and this is the case for the specialised provider arrangement. So the recommendation is that council enters into arrangement with SARB Management Consulting consultants to provide Pinforce annual support and maintenance contract without first inviting quotes under Section 235B of the Local Government Act, and that the arrangement be made in the period of May 2022 through to April 2025, 3-year period. Any questions at all?
Thanks, Gav. All good.
The next one is we're looking at Central Queensland University sole supplier arrangement, Central Queensland Regional Arts Services Network collaboration. The Regional Arts Services Network is an initiative of the Queensland Government through Arts Queensland. It's delivered through local arts services across the state, through local service providers. Central Queensland University is the sole contractor through Arts Queensland to deliver this program, and this was awarded via a competitive tender process and to operate for the 4-year program, which will expire on 30th of June 2025. While the initiative aims to delivering up to be delivered by the end of 2023, the supplier holds contract arrangements with Arts Queensland through to 2025. The Collaborative Regions project aims to lever off existing funding provided by the Central Queensland RASN program, with Central Queensland University being in a unique position to provide the service to a network across 25 local governments and to develop opportunities for engagement with Bundaberg Regional Council with previously untapped arts networks. The funding is on a 50-50 basis provided by Arts Queensland and Council, and the recommendation is that Council enters into an arrangement with Central Queensland University for the Collaborative Regions project for Central Queensland Regional Arts Network to provide extended arts services without first going to quotes. Is there any questions at all from the councillors? Or? No, it's fairly straightforward. The next one will be very similar, and this next one is the Central Queensland University specialised supplier for the Wagga Thay Lai Yu Accelerated Arts Program. The Wagga Thay Lai Yu project was successfully funded in 2021-22 through the Regional Arts Fund grant and was administered through Flying Arts Alliance Incorporated, and was considered necessary for the development of an accelerated cultural arts program within the Bundaberg region. The program is aimed at senior students in grades 10 to 12 and interested in an arts career, and as a way of providing a career trajectory for participants. The core focus is for students to engage in unique cultural exchanges guided by an inclusive and Indigenous-led methodology. Students considering an arts career will be accelerated through the program through opportunities of learning, mentorship, professional experience in producing and creating collaborative work. Central Queensland University is essential in the delivery of and coordination management outcomes of the Wagga Thay Lai Yu project. They have connections with First Nations artists and other artist leaders, and also the community groups within our region. We're seeking to contract Central Queensland University for the duration of the project as a specialised supplier due to their connections with First Nations and other artist groups. And the recommendation is to engage Central Queensland University for the provision of the Wagga Thay Lai Yu Accelerated Arts Project without first seeking quotes. Any questions at all? Excellent.
Thanks, Gav. No late items? We will have a planning item coming to the general meeting that we haven't finalised for today, so we'll distribute that as a separate item probably today, or late today or Friday. So there's no other late items.